Welcome to the Retirement Guide Podcast. I'm your host, George Jameson, the owner of Capital Wealth Group, a fee-only advisory firm. Whether you're nearing retirement or already retired, join me each week as we explore the world of retirement planning and equip you with the knowledge and tools you need for a successful retirement. Hi, and welcome to another episode of your Retirement Guide Podcast. I'm George Jameson, a certified financial planner and founder of Capital Wealth Group in Columbia, South Carolina. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that comes up with almost every client I work with. Do you have enough saved to support your lifestyle without worry? And what does enough look like for you in terms of lifestyle, freedom, experiences, and peace of mind? Many people focus only on hitting a magic number. Maybe your magic number is $1 million, $3 million, more or less. But the real question is, what's enough for you to live the way you want without oversaving, underspending, or running out? So how do you know if you have enough to really enjoy retirement and live the life you want without worry? So the first step is taking a clear look at your finances. Here are some of the key areas I walk through with clients. Number one, guaranteed income and other sources. What will reliably come in each month? You may have Social Security, pensions, rental income, and so on. Maybe you retire early and have no income for 10 years until Social Security starts. Maybe you work part-time for several years, or maybe income only comes from savings and investments. Every situation is unique, and mapping it out is crucial. And then number two, monthly expenses and cash flow planning. It's not just about how much you have, it's about how you'll use it. I recommend doing a retirement budget or cash flow analysis to get an idea of your expenses in retirement. The more accurate, the better. Don't forget those once a year or periodic expenses, like holidays, vacations, car replacements, home repairs, and so on. Also, some advisors reference the 4% rule, which is a good place to start, but usually not realistic. Spending usually changes over time. Early in retirement, often called the go-go phase, maybe the first 10 to 20 years, you often spend more, especially on travel, hobbies, and family. Then comes the slow go phase. You may still travel and have hobbies, but you'll usually spend less, so your monthly needs often decrease. And then finally, you have the no-go phase, where you may need long-term care or support at home. Expenses can rise again, but in different areas, of course. That's why cash flow planning is so important. And it's often about phases and not a flat number. Understanding this pattern helps you prepare realistically instead of assuming expenses only rise with inflation. And then number three, debt reduction or elimination. If possible, retire debt-free, especially from high interest loans like credit cards. Mortgages with very low rates can be debated, but any debt over 5 or 6% is almost impossible to outpace with conservative investments. Paying it off reduces stress and increases flexibility. And then number four, asset allocation and risk. Your mix of stocks, bonds, alternatives, and cash need to fit your goal and comfort level. Having some cash available gives you flexibility so you're not forced to sell investments at the wrong time. And don't forget sequence of returns risk. If the markets drop early in retirement and you're pulling money out, it can shorten the life of your portfolios. That's why planning your withdrawals for the next 5 or so years is so important. Now let's talk about planning for long-term care. Long-term care is often the elephant in the room. It's hard to predict who will need it, when, and for how long. But ignoring it can create big problems later. Here are some ways to prepare for long-term care. Number one, long-term care insurance, of course. It's best to buy it between age 55 and 65, assuming you're in good health. Here's an example. An average annual premium for a policy with $165,000 in initial benefits, which includes a 3% annual inflation rider. So at age 55, a single male will pay about $2,000 per year. Single female will pay about $3,700 per year, and a couple would pay about $5,000 combined at age 55. And then it goes up every year you wait, depending on your age and health. Let's say you're a single male and decided to buy long-term care insurance at age 55 and ended up needing it starting at age 85. Your total premiums paid would be about $62,000, and your total benefit would be about $400,000. So another option would be set aside a cushion. If you don't have long-term care insurance for one reason or another, you can self-pay. Aim to cover at least 3 to 5 years of long-term care costs, depending on your location and other retirement income. I automatically build in a few years of long-term care cost near the end of life. Depending on family history or concerns, we can adjust that cushion. And next, you may want to explore multi-generational living. Moving closer to your adult kids or relatives provides both emotional support and financial savings. It's how families handled aging before retirement communities became common. This works great for some families and not so well for others. And now, in-home care or assisted living facilities. This is a personal choice and a good idea to decide during the retirement planning process, so you can get a better understanding of the cost, and so your loved ones know your desires if the time comes. You don't need to overfund this, but having a plan in place avoids stress for you and your family. So now let's talk about the non-financial planning side of retirement. Retirement isn't just a math problem. It's also about purpose and identity. Ask yourself, are you retiring from something or towards something? People who run toward purpose and fulfillment tend to have the most satisfying retirements. So consider these areas: your sense of purpose outside of work, your relationships, family, friends, and social networks, your daily structure, what brings you joy when you wake up each day, and how to establish a new identity away from work. For many, leaving a career means losing recognition and a piece of identity. Here's some ways to make this transition smoother. 1, identify the parts of work that energize you. Can you replicate those in retirement? And then 2, recognize what work took away, such as time with family, hobbies, travel, and then add those back into your life. And then 3, find balance so your self-worth isn't tied to your paycheck or title. When you can answer both sides truthfully, the financial and the non-financial side, you'll step into retirement with confidence. And here's an alternative way of retirement. I call it a phased approach. Retirement doesn't have to be an on-off switch. Many people benefit from a gradual transition. It may be shifting responsibilities at work, so focusing on what you enjoy and letting go of the stressors. Or maybe you want to explore part-time work or do a job that you really enjoy. You also may do part-time consulting, board service, or just volunteering. Gradually increase your freedom while maintaining income and purpose. This phased approach often feels more natural and less risky, both financially and emotionally. So here's some final thoughts. When we talk about knowing if you have enough, it's not just about hitting a certain number in your investment accounts. It's about building a comprehensive retirement plan that includes both the and non-financial side of retirement. Assess your financial resources carefully: income, debt, cash flow, taxes, and allocation. Recognize that spending changes in phases, not a straight line. Plan ahead for long-term care. Don't overlook the non-financial aspects. Such as purpose, identity, and relationships. You may consider easing into retirement gradually instead of overnight. Here's an example of why retirement planning isn't just about the math. I recently worked with a couple who had saved diligently. They had more than enough saved, but they were anxious, constantly worried about market swings and potential long-term care costs. When we built a clear income plan that they could visualize, adjusted their investments for a little more stability, and mapped out a long-term care strategy, their stress went way down. They could finally focus on what they really wanted: spending time with their grandchildren and traveling together. That's what a good plan does. It gives you clarity and confidence so you can actually enjoy retirement, not just worry your way through it. When you bring these elements together, you'll create a retirement that's not just financially secure, but also personally fulfilling. Thank you for listening to your Retirement Guide podcast. To schedule a free consultation, visit my website at capitalwealthgroupsc.com. Stay tuned for next week's episode and have a great day. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Retirement Guide. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review to help others discover the show. For questions, ideas, or discuss your retirement plan, reach out to me, George Jameson, at Capital Wealth Group. If you'd like a free retirement review, visit our website at capitalwealthplan.com to learn more. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more insightful retirement planning in future episodes. And now for the disclaimer. The information discussed in this podcast is for general explanations and education only. It is not tax, legal, or investment advice. Before considering acting on any information heard here, first consult with your tax, legal, or investment advisor. Thank you and have a great day.